Hey guys, I haven't seen him so long. I'm sure they've already let you guys know what's going on. We're going to do an opening statement for everybody. We'll start on this end. Closing statements, we start on this end. This way. 2-minute opening statement and then 1 minute response to any questions that are asked. And with as many candidates as here, I'm going to have to cut you off in 1 minute. I want to get as many responses as possible. Did you say that or what? I wouldn't trust you to leave with that if you gave it to us. There was a lot of when that buzzer goes off the time, did you raise your hand so they'll know? Just watch for the hand raise. She has a 30 seconds, so you'll know you're halfway through. 2-minute opening, 1 minute response, 1 minute closing. So however you need it. Smile, have fun. Try to look pretty. We need to work on that looking pretty part. Are we ready?
All right, if we can get seated again, get organized, we're going to start with our forum and our candidates for City Commission for the City of Salina. Again, if you have questions that you would like asked specifically, the ladies are going around with baskets. Please hand those to those ladies. They will get them up here and we will get an answer to them, as many as possible. As you can see, we have 8 of the 9 candidates up here, and they're going to be answering as many questions as possible. Once everybody gets calmed down, I need a gavel in here. Gavel. All right, let's do this. We're going to start, and I want to give as much time, so I just want to jump right into this. We're going to start with a 2-minute opening statement from each of the candidates, and we're going to start here on my left with Mr. Cooper. So 2 minutes, Mr. Cooper.
Okay, my name is Keith Cooper. I was born and raised in Salina, Kansas. Initially, when I filed to run, there were only 2 other candidates. So I thought, well, I'll jump in and see what happens. And now we have a lot of us that are here. But, you know, I've always been, interested in politics. Not really politics, but just what's going on, what we're going to do for our future, my kids, everybody else's kids, how we spend money, all of that kind of stuff, taxes. So, I thought this would be the time to do it, and I'll, give it a shot. And there's a lot of things I would change, and instead of just complaining about wanting to change something, I decided I'll jump in and see if I can get in and do it myself. So anyway, that's kind of why I'm running. So pass it on.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Davis.
Good evening. I'm Trent Davis, and I'm running for election for Salina City Commission. I'll start with what may be my closing statement from Joseph Joubert. It is better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it. This current city commission on paper initially seemed to be a rather odd mix of backgrounds and persuasions. But what we have found that we do well is express our thoughts, listen to opinions, and find the largest common ground that we can all agree on and move forward as a strong group. Those who think 1 or 2 simple answers or approaches will solve all of our community's problems are in for a surprise. Not only do commissioners not have all the answers, we don't even have all the questions. The majority of our work is responding to issues brought to us rather than from us. And most of the business we conduct is unrelated to what each of us individually does 40 hours a week in our regular jobs. So we have to ask, read, study, listen, and listen to people outside of our inner circle to learn about things that we don't know much about. That way we can find the largest table of agreement that we can all be comfortable sitting at. Discussion understanding others' opinions, and working for common ground is what I do well. I'm always open to the idea that I can learn something right up to the moment a vote is taken. I also want to keep progress moving forward. Much of what the City Commission does is reactive, responding to the beautiful grand ideas from neighborhood stop signs to dog parks to large developments, as well as those uncomfortable problems from homelessness to dangerous dogs and policing issues. All newly elected commissioners enter with grand 10-year plans, but only 2 or 4-year terms.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. 2 minutes goes fast, doesn't it? Mr. Hardy.
Thank you. I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to you and to let you know what is important to me. My name is Randall Hardy, and I'm a candidate for City Commission. I served on the City Commission from 2013 through 2016, and I served in the Kansas Senate from 2017 to 2020. So why do I want to be a City Commissioner? My first reason is I listen to the people of Salina. While on the commission, the vacant Dillon's building on Iron was being considered for different uses. It was important to me that that building remain a grocery store. I went out and chatted with a couple business people and discovered that they had formed a group that would provide the seed money for a grocery store at that location. I brought that idea back to the commission and the idea became reality. Now we have DG Market that is available for people who live in that area. The second reason I am running is that I want to do good things for the people of Salina. A gentleman from Hayes came up to the podium during Citizens Forum one meeting and remarked that he drove through Salina and enjoyed the fire engine red beer at the Blue Sky Brewery. On his way out the door, he wanted to purchase some to take home with him. But the bartender said, "I'm sorry, we can't sell this to you because it is Sunday and we have no liquor sales on Sunday." When I heard that, I thought, why not? So I made my case to my fellow commissioners and they agreed that we should indeed have liquor sales on Sunday. As a bonus, my experience in the Kansas Senate might come in handy if we need some help that the Kansas legislature might provide. And BTW, I believe that the Cozy Inn lawsuit is a massive waste of taxpayer dollars. You can read more about me at randallhardy.org. I'm a former city commissioner that can do good things for the people of Salina. I appreciate this opportunity to talk with you, and I ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Mr. Keller.
Well, folks, thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Johnny Keller, running for City Commission. People that know me call me Jack, and that's fine if you want to do that. Just be careful in the airport, okay? Wow. Anyway, most people get that. So I'm running for City Commissioner. I'm a fourth generation Kansan. I served our country for 25 years. I'm a retired teacher. I have a background in transportation. I retired in 2022 and kind of settled into the coffee groups and talking to people around here, the veterans and everything. And one of the biggest things I keep hearing from them is it's expensive to live. It's expensive to live here. Taxes are high. Property taxes are high. Our population is not really growing. I thought, well, let's talk to younger people. So I talked to my kids and I talked to their friends. And they're saying, it's hard to buy a house. I'm going to be in my 40s before I can buy a house. I want a future, as everybody does, for our kids and grandkids. I want that future that they can afford. And I would like to see the city get back to doing what all government is supposed to do, which is focus on your safety, on your security, on your infrastructure, and not get tied up in costly lawsuits with places like the Cozy Inn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Mr. Clinda.
I'm Dean Conda. I'm running for City Commission because so a few years back I worked for Access Television, filmed a lot of city meetings, county meetings, school board. 5 or 6 years I started to form some opinions. I've always given my opinions to my friends, and finally a few of them had enough last year. Said, Dean, you should just run. And I talked to a few people. They said, yeah, well, you should, why not? And so that's why I decided to run. I think Salina needs to do a better job of supporting some of the homeless. We have some amazing resources, Rescue Mission, Ashby House, DVAC. But those are all more long-term facilities. We need some more short-term emergency stay. I think The Tony's Pizza Event Center needs to be managed a little better. When I was a kid, there was events all the times. Every weekend, you'd go by that place. There was dog shows, there was sporting events, South Central, basketball, all the events. Lately, not so many events. I would like to see that fixed within some of the power that I would have to do that. Again, you know, it's a managed facility. Support Salina's law enforcement, military, growing that relationship, school district. I think there's a lot of waste currently going on in our city government that we could do better. And I think we need to be more open about our meetings and our decisions and getting that information to the public, making it easier to access. I do currently sit on the Arts and Humanities Board and have some experience there as well.
Thank you, Mr. Clinton. Mr. Lenkowitz.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Greg Lenkowitz, and I'm currently serving as at the end of my four-year term, and I have the honor and privilege of currently serving as your mayor. And I'm running for re-election because I want to continue the work that we've done over the last 4 years. A little background on me: I'm a Salina native, a product of the local school districts here. I've raised 2 children here and a big believer in our community, and I believe it's a great place to have a family and raise that family. And they're 22 and 26, so it's, you know, they're off and running on their own. But also part of my background, you know, I did go to Washburn University from 91 to 95, got a degree in criminal justice. I spent about 5 years in law enforcement. The majority of that time was in the Kansas City area, but I did serve the Salina PD for about a year and a half. And as a result of that, public safety is, I'm very passionate about it, and I'm very cognizant of what we need to do in that regard. You know, part of my basically inspiration for running was I believe in this community. I wanted to continue to help preserve and improve it. And, you know, in the last 4 years as city commissioner, I feel like my voting record consistently supports new businesses or responsible community growth and development. And you know, we talk about taxes. I'm proud to report that, you know, just contrary to some of the comments in here, we've been revenue neutral as a taxing entity for 25 and the 26 fiscal year, or upcoming fiscal year. And the mill levy will be reduced by 0.849 from 25 to 26. The city remains fiscally very strong, and you know, there's some comments about spending, but we are very good health fiscally, and we've done some very savvy investing. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lenkowitz. Mr. Longbine.
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm Bill Longbine. I'm a Salina native, lifelong resident. Attended Salina schools, and I worked in local industry for over 45 years. I'm married to my wife Donna for 44 years this November, and we attend and serve at Cross Point Church, Salina. We have 2 sons, Jonathan, a firefighter in Wichita, and Caleb, who works for the state in Topeka. Also 2 grandsons. As my job phased out with Phillips Lighting, I was elected to the Salina City Commission, at which time I also returned to school and completed a degree in computer networking. While some see the cup half full and others see it half empty, I see Salina's cup overflowing. I have been active in making improvements in Salina as a commissioner. The most visible effort I have led was proposing the yellow reflective backplates on traffic signals. I presented the idea to install 5 new backplates at 5 busy intersections. Public Works is now upgrading 5 intersections per year until all are completed. Soon, it is out for bids currently. Little things drive me nuts, and I've always said we had the worst looking fire hydrants in the state, and that is currently out for bids to resurface and paint our fire hydrants. During my term as commissioner and mayor, I've been involved and engaged with the community. I've received many words of appreciation for consistently participating in events from Martin Luther King Day to the mayor's Christmas party. I've enjoyed serving on my assigned boards, ranging from economic development and the chamber to the library and the convention and tourism. This has given me the opportunity to learn more about the needs and happenings in Salina. In between meetings and events, I have given numerous welcomes and attended groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings. Participating in these events makes serving on the commission very fulfilling.
Thank you, Mr. Longvine. Mr. Remp.
Yes, good evening, Salina. Doug Remp. Most of you probably know me as Mr. McDonald's. I had the franchise here in town from 95 to 2018. Moved here from Kansas City. My wife and I have been part of Salina for 30 years. We did spend a couple of years in Arizona. A family need brought us back. Had a son-in-law that had cancer, and anyway, he's in a better place at this point in time. Don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that. Got grandkids here in town, got both a son and daughter in town. We had a home build in 22. We're permanent residents again, although I did buy a winter town home in Arizona. You may or may not have noticed the last couple of winters, in my humble opinion, have been kind of brutal. And I'm not a big fan of winter. That's one of the reasons why I worked hard my entire life to be able to spend winters in a better climate. The Cozy Inn was my deciding factor on whether or not to run. I had a bunch of people, a bunch of friends proud of me, and I kind of filed at the last minute because I wanted to make sure that our community had enough options for our city commission moving from here forward. I think my time in business can only help me. I've spent decades dealing with people. I know a lot of people in the community. I've always treated people with respect. I've always worked hard, being upfront and visible in my businesses. I also have many times where I've made large financial decisions that I had to make that affected my bottom line or my livelihood. And I've had times where I've had to sweat making payroll. I know a lot of people in the community, even more know me. Being gone for 3 to 4 months is less than ideal in the winter times, but I do commit to attending every other meeting or at least one meeting a month.
Thank you, Mr. Remp. We're going to do like we did with the school board candidates. We're going to ask questions, kind of popcorn questions here. You will have 1 minute of response time, and you thought 2 minutes went by quickly. 1 minute will go by even quicker. And again, with as many candidates as we have, I'm going to have to hold you to that 1 minute. By the way, please write down your questions, hand those to the ladies so that they can get those in. To start off, the budget has always been a big topic with the city commission. I noticed the mayor there even said our mill levy rate was dropping. How do you feel about our city employees receiving a 2% pay increase when inflation was 4 to 6%, depending on what you read? That would actually turn into a pay decrease. How do you feel about that for our city employees? And we'll start on this end like we did before, and then we'll rotate back and forth. If we could pass the microphone down. Thank you.
I'm okay with the 2% increase. It probably should keep up with inflation. Wages overall need to keep up at least with inflation, and it just doesn't seem like that's been happening. But you know, in order to do that, maybe we don't get to spend money somewhere else, so that we can take care of that. I do think it's very important to have good workers that work for the city, and we have good departments that, you know, we have the log jam and stuff like that that doesn't seem to be getting taken care of beforehand. Things that we could take care of so that we don't have these problems in the future. So if it takes paying people better money, then I think that's fine, as long as it doesn't get out of control. And then if that means we don't get to spend money somewhere else, then that's what I would do.
Thank you.
Well, I hope I was all right with the pay increase since I voted for it. But you know, running the city of Salina is running a $200 million business, and we're competing with private business for employees. And nothing talks like money. You know, in private industry, sometimes there are perks that, you know, attract folks. The city offers fairly good benefits. We've increased the pay several times in the last few years trying to catch up. But like in any city, you don't get what you don't pay for. And we have to attract, you know, employees. When your water pipe bursts, you don't want to hear that we don't have anybody on staff who can come out and fix it. That means paying more than we need to do it. But it's good business sense.
Thank you.
The budget is big, as Commissioner Davis mentioned, and 70% of that budget is all of the employees and their benefits that go into it. So any kind of increase to the payroll is huge, and it has to be paid for by, you know, taxpayer dollars. And I think that the city thinks long and hard about the raises that it gives out. And 2%, sometimes it may be all that is possible for that particular year. And I think that going forward, there should be a discussion probably between the citizens and the commission about what way we should go in managing our employee pay raises.
Thank you.
Okay, so got a little background in this myself. When I was going to college after I retired from the military, worked for the state for a while. State and municipal payrolls have never been very good, and that's unfortunate. I see today I was looking out, saw a job that was offered by the city, and if you were the more qualified, it was a little over $22 an hour. And that sounds really good. But with today's inflation and what the median costs to live in a rental, for instance, a young person trying to get that kind of a job, you're looking at money that's basically just keeping up. So a 2% pay raise is just barely keeping up, and we're not going to be able to recruit people if we cannot compete against the better paying jobs outside.
Thank you.
I think you want to try to keep your pay raises up with the cost of living increases, but also, are you guys wanting to spend more on taxes to make that happen every year? I don't know that many of you would answer yes. You could do things to optimize budgets, but at some point you're cutting funds to something to fund that, and it's something you'd have to look at, find the right balance. In a perfect world, yes, the cost of raises or the cost of living increase would go up every year to match inflation, and we have to do our best to keep to that, but also the money doesn't grow on a tree, and so what do we lose to afford that to keep happening? Where's that line? That's a hard discussion.
Thank you.
One thing worth mentioning in regard to the pay raises, is that any better? Maybe.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, so in case you didn't hear me, one of the things that we need to keep in mind with the pay raises is that previous year we had done a pay study, and we are very cognizant of the fact that we are competing with the private sector when we're looking to hire, you know, highly qualified employees, and obviously we want to retain them once they're hired. And there's a balancing act that we have to do, and because these pay raises are in perpetuity, meaning you can't take your foot off the gas. There's, we'll try that again. Oh, much better. So basically these pay raises are in perpetuity, meaning that you can't undo them. They're you know, you can't take your foot off the gas, so to speak, to use a car analogy. So we have to do that balancing act of how can we compete with the private sector, keep good quality employees, and still be fiscally sensible about it. And
thank you. Mr. Longbine.
Well, there's been some good answers here, and yeah, 75% of the city budget is payroll. And I might add that, yeah, we approved the 2% cost of living raise, and employees are also eligible for the 3% merit raise. And it is a competitive market, and you got to draw that line where's that money come from? And we have been able to hold the line on property taxes. And some of the hard to fill positions, utilities, police, we have made those adjustments so that we can recruit people and retain people. Big problem with the city I see is succession. The generation of 30-year employees are ready to step out, and people just don't stick with their jobs for 30 years anymore. But the city is a good employer with good benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Rim?
Let me start with, I'm not a big fan with 2% across the board raise. I'm glad Bill mentioned the merit portion of it. I think typically everybody contributes, certainly in the private sector, everybody contributes at his or her level. High performers get rewarded better, low performers maybe get shown the door. Also need to keep in mind that on top of salaries, at least when I look at the city's budget, 40% is added for their benefits. Papers, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, other things they get, the Social Security, all that is added up where it takes their pay up another 40% versus the number they're getting in a salary. And if you take that in consideration, back in '22, we had 100 employees at City Hall making over 100 grand a year if you had that 40%. And that just seems pretty rich, especially when we have to hire consultants all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Rimp, if you'll hold on to that microphone, we'll start with you here. This is a very basic question, well, open-ended question, but 1 minute. What is your stance on the river renewal project?
Not a big fan. I haven't been shy about that. The latest price tag, as I've seen it, is somewhere between $70 to $100 million for the river. I think it needs to be maintained. I think if the average citizen knew where the current price tag, and people will argue that number, but the fire station on Crawford went from $4 million to $5 million up to $9 million. I think the plan, what I put in Salina 311, I think the plan is $2 grand. I think it needs to be pared back. I don't think we need 7 miles of new trails, that we need people to maintain those 7 miles probably 365 days a year. Right now, we can't get the streets in towns plowed when we get a snow plow. I would think if you got walking trails for 7 miles, they would need to be plowed. Once again, I think the plan is $2 grand. The time is not right to be replacing bridges for the sake of replacing bridges so we can streamline the river trail project.
Thank you. Mr. Longbine, same question.
I support the river renewal project. I was not supportive early on, but as I learned more and educated myself, I saw the possibilities and the opportunities for the community. This is an item that was on the ballot in 2016. The voters approved a special tax to fund it. We have had federal funding, and we have the Corps of Engineers on board. And the big thing that turned me on the river project was when I looked at it, I was embarrassed and I felt it was disgusting that we have to do something to clean it up. When I visited Sheriff Darrell Wilson, when I was campaigning 4 years ago, he asked me, Bill, what are we gonna do with this stinking river? He's sandwiched in between them by Oakdale Park. And I didn't have the heart to tell him that you're probably not gonna see it happen, Sheriff, but it's gonna happen.
Thank you. Mr. Linkowitz.
To reiterate Commissioner Longbine's point, it was voted on and approved by the citizens in 2016. One thing worth mentioning, especially pertaining to the bridges, there was a federal RAISE grant, which is about infrastructure improvement and renewal, and that is paying for a majority of those bridges that we were referring to earlier. The other thing worth mentioning is that this ship has sailed, so to speak, and if we were wanting to turn it around, and I actually had a discussion with the city manager about it recently, and he spitballed roughly it would be about $4 to $5 million of taxpayer money to halt this project. And then on top of that, it would do irreparable damage to our relationship with the federal government, with miscellaneous grants that we've been working on, and it would basically sully the waters of those relationships, and it would be just very detrimental, and I am in support of the river project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clinton.
I think that the river project as it was voted for should continue. Obviously, projects have cost increases as time goes on. But I do think we need to be very sure as a commission being elected that we ensure that there is maintenance being done and we're staying on top of. Salina has a habit, maybe not intentionally, but we have a habit of building things and letting them get neglected, and then we have to redo them, or not holding developers up to that. Pioneer President's Place, the old Roosevelt Lincoln property, that used to be a really nice facility, and now it's closed, and those residents are out looking for places to live while they remodel that again. I don't know that it's completely the city's responsibility, but I know that there was grants and stuff given to that facility, so we need to just make sure we take care of what we have or continue to build.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
There's a lot of good things being said right here. The nice part about getting down to this part of it is you get to hear all these other people say things. But the river project is one of the things I hear a lot of people complain about. And I don't have a problem with cleaning it out. We've got a major problem with that thing. It's nasty. Go down there and look at it. It should be cleaned out. But the problem is then, now what do we do with contaminated soil, and where are we going to put that contaminated soil? Are we going to be able to, as Mr. Clinton said and others, how are we going to be able to maintain this over a period of time? It's going to be expensive. And we only have about 5 to 6 months of weather that's going to have people down there messing around with it. We're not San Antonio. So I'm not saying do away with it, but I'm saying maybe we need to relook at it and trim it back a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
I'm a big supporter of River Renewal Project. When I was on the City Commission, we did contract and build one of the bridges that's part of the system. It's over on Greeley Avenue by Waters. And so that one at least is in place. That needed to be replaced anyway. So we did build it according to that standard. And what I'm looking forward to on those 6 miles of trails is people taking their families going out and taking a hike and doing some bird watching and getting out into nature and putting the cell phones down and putting the video games down and getting out and having time together, going out on the lake and kayaking. We have all kinds of possibilities putting city events together. I'm looking forward to all of the good times that are going to be happening on the river.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
The water either flows or it doesn't, so we can't scale back opening up the river and getting the water going. We can scale back the extras, but as is pointed out, we're not paying for all of that work that's being done. Once the water is flowing, entrepreneurs in town are going to flock to that area. People will want to live near it, they'll want to have restaurants or stores near it, they'll have business associated with it. And the folks who've been griping the most about it will be the first ones out there, because that's going to be a free 7-mile park. You don't get many chances to build something like this. And we will learn to manage it. If we have to hire more people, we do that. But this is a truly generational project. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
I am a big fisherman. My son and I go fishing on rivers all the time. It would be awesome to have a free-flowing river, the natural river the way it was, right in our backyard. And if the ship has sailed on it and we got to pay for it, then we got to pay for it. But just for the price tag alone, I wouldn't have gone for it. And maybe that's one of the things you do in stages, and you don't get to do other things that might cost a lot of money. So you just have to weigh all that stuff. But for the price tag of this one, I wouldn't have been for it.
Thank you, and we'll start on this end so they can get the benefit of hearing all the answers this time. This question says, what criteria should the commission use when considering tax incentives for businesses?
That's a tough one. I'm not a fan of giving incentives to one business opposed to another business. So I don't know if there is a criteria. I guess it would, the only thing that would make sense is it brings in a lot of jobs. So I don't know if that ever really happens or not. We've been told the same thing. I've been told the same thing my whole adult life. If we just bring in this business and give them all kinds of tax breaks, then we're gonna start seeing population growth and more jobs, and everybody's gonna benefit. But growth has stayed the same. Everything's pretty much stayed the same except for cost of living's gone up. So anyway, that's.
Thank you. Dr. Davis.
If there's a city where the cost of living is going down, please come up and tell me after the meeting. That's a fact we're all going to have to deal with. We do have set criteria at the Economic Development Organization for what types of incentives can be offered, what types of businesses. Sometimes just being first gets you a little more incentive rather than being the biggest and the best. The first very often will attract other businesses behind it. When you look at some of the incentives that involve abatement of taxes for a while, you have to ask yourself, well, how much tax money are we going to get from this vacant land in the next 10 years anyway? And the answer is usually close to zero. So you have to have a little delayed gratification, and as those things come back onto the tax rolls, all of a sudden there's a whole lot of money that you hadn't planned on. Or you were planning on it, but you hadn't been used to spending it, and it shows up. But you have to take the long-range approach. It's not a one-year balance the budget issue.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy.
The incentives should be consistent over time and over, excuse me, businesses, and should be applied evenly. And I think that the criteria for the business incentives that are in place are good. And I think they provide a great service for us too, because, you know, we had Phillips Lighting left. And then we had this huge building that we needed to take care of all of a sudden. What do? Well, if it weren't for business incentives, then that big building could become dark and be an albatross for the city. And we don't like those sorts of things to happen. So it's great to have that in our toolkit to offer to businesses that we want to come in.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
Well, we know that's got to be done for the competition of getting businesses into town. What I would like to see, for instance, we had the discussion on the renovation of the mall. And I was sitting in on that, listening to the commissioners speak. And when we do these things, we work with a company to do something for the city. What I'd like to do, not only what we've heard already, is fair and balanced across the board. But when you hear somebody that's saying, oh, and we're not going to buy any of our fixtures or anything from in town, I'm like, what? That makes no sense. That is not fair to the businesses that are already here. If you're going to get this, the fairness of that is you need to be buying from the businesses in town and supporting the people that have jobs here.
Thank you. Mr. Clinton?
So, for example, the upcoming mall, some of the STAR and TIF funding is very complicated. Hopefully you guys have gone out and done some research. I saw on Facebook the other day, excellent video explaining some of that. But you don't want to penalize your existing businesses for already existing. And you want to keep things equal and fair, but I would like to see, I feel like we let a lot of developers make their agreements with the city. They go by a year or two, their side doesn't hold up the way they originally planned. They come back and ask for more money or to change the agreement, extend the agreement. And I feel that we need to be stricter to holding them towards the original agreements. Because if it made sense for them to do that then why are we changing and, oh, you need another 6 months? Cool, we'll give you 6 more months. Why don't we hold to that original agreement we make and make those original agreements fair?
Thank you. Mr. Linkowitz?
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll circle back to the once Phillips, now Kubota factory. One thing worth mentioning is that was never on the tax rolls for Salina. That was land that was annexed, and then it's going to be on the tax rolls as those incentives expire. You talk about, new development, for instance. We have the South View out there at Schilling in Ohio Street. Again, that was not part of city limits. That was not part of the tax roll. So these are all things that's delayed gratification or deferred, so to speak. But it's about what do they bring to the table. And as far as the housing, we had a very loud calling from major employers in the city saying, hey, we have an issue, from USD 305 to Kubota, Great Plains, Schwann's, Tony's, etc. We need housing for our employees. We're growing, help. So 2021, it kind of hit basically a zenith, and we had to address the issue, and since then we have plugged in a lot of incentives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Longbottom.
I just had this discussion last week with the city manager concerning the Central Mall proposal, and that is I just cracked the door open. We've made a lot of progress through offering incentives, and the city manager stated that virtually everything has to have some kind of incentive. It's a competitive world out there. If Salina doesn't offer it, Hutchison will. Or RHID, rural housing development, these essentially starter homes with Southview and Aeroplanes would not have happened without those incentives and that program available. So I think the city has been very well versed, and economic development has a formula that runs through this WSU economic program that charts and scores the benefits to any tax incentives that we offer.
Thank you, Mr. Longbottom. Mr. Rem.
Yes, I'll start out with, I wish our leaders would have been more aggressive 20, 30, perhaps 40 years ago. We're at the crossroads of America. All that industry that we see down around McPherson, why don't we have things like that here in the middle of the country? It seems ideal. I've heard from people in the community that we had some of the, whether FedEx or UPS, and this goes back decades ago, that they would love to have a facility here in the middle of the country. I don't think the government should be choosing winners and losers in business. They're dealing with restaurants and retail. If you think putting 4 or 5 new restaurants out at the mall isn't going to pull business from Longhorns, Tucson's, other establishments we have in the community, you're kidding yourself. There's only so much spendable money in our income. So any dollars that those restaurants take in at the mall are going to come from other places, so our sales tax collections go down, and if their business starts doing worse, there's a good chance their property taxes will go down too.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Rent, we'll start with you, and this is a simple question. If the state of Kansas wanted to build a casino in the Salina, Kansas area, would you support it or not?
I kind of think we should have one at I-70 and 135. I would take that northwest corner. I think of all the dirt they moved over in Kansas City, Kansas for the center there. You could take that field, and I think it could be a beacon here in the middle of the country. So I guess I would be a yes.
Thank you. Mr. Longbottom.
I am morally opposed to gambling of any kind, and I would fight a casino to the end. I think it's a detriment on society. People complain we don't have enough money, the taxes are too high, but they can pool away money at a casino or this online sports betting that I think it's insane.
Thank you. Mr. Linkowitz.
I think it's a very open-ended question. My answer would be I need to hear more details. It's not that I'm morally opposed to the idea of gambling. I think any idea needs to be heard and analyzed. But at the very surface of it, feels a little unsavory, and maybe it's about what do we want to be as a community. And whether it's this hypothetical casino, or are we willing to invest in our community in new projects and new development, and are we willing to foster and try and get that growth going, or do we want to be a city that just says no to everything? Because that's easy. I mean, if you're investing in the private sector, you don't invest, you don't lose money, but you also don't gain any either. So I guess the question is Salina worth investing in?
Thank you. Mr. Clinton?
Kind of the same thing. I don't feel one way or the other about a casino. I think I'd have to poll the community and see what they felt. It would depend on the details. Casinos do bring additional elements of crime, gambling addiction, and some of those things. You'd have to make sure that the rewards outweigh the costs, and if the citizens wanted it and voted for it. I mean, you can't necessarily do a special election on every one of those. That gets pricey, but you know, I'd have to poll the community and see what people wanted. I don't have strong feelings either way about a casino.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
Well, unfortunately, I've had some bad experiences as a non-commissioned officer having to counsel soldiers that went through all their money because of casinos. And in an area where my youngest daughter lives, there's a casino, and they're having a lot of problems with crime, unemployment. People are trying to, you know, not everybody can gamble and be responsible. It's like responsible drinking, right? Some people can do it, some people can't. So personally, if you want to do that, that's fine, but I also know that there's a lot of damage that can come to your community and a lot of damage that can come to families from it. There's a lot of stats out there. And again, seeing soldiers' lives ruined was just my own personal thing. If I've got to take these guys now and talk to their wives, because as a non-commissioned officer in the military, you're a big-time babysitter, you're a mom and dad too. And it's terrible to see how it can ruin lives. Gambling can be a bad thing in the wrong hands.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
I think it can be a good thing for the area. I don't know that I would put it in the river area. But I think any decision that a commission would make would not be made quickly or without a lot of interaction with consultants and people talking about whether the casino would be detrimental to the society or be a boost for the society. And I think this is one of those things that just doesn't happen overnight.
Thank you. Dr. Davis?
Now, remember, we're not talking about the city running the casino. We're talking about a business approaching us with a development plan just like the mall redevelopment. So we would have to hear the facts, the pros and cons, the finances. If you want to gamble, this is all you need. You can gamble right here during this meeting right now. If you want to drink, chances are you're going to do it when you leave here. So we're not introducing anything new to the community if the casino comes in. That intersection would be great. You call it Crossroads Casino. Finally, the crossroads of America would mean something other than a field that floods every time it rains. You know, so I would certainly be open to listening to it. What are we getting from that land right now anyway? I mean, as far as big money, because casinos, you're talking big money. But it's certainly worth a listen to. Just because, like going to a shoe store, just because you try them on doesn't mean you have to buy them.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
I'd definitely be open to it, but I'd probably end up being against it. You know, there's also personal responsibility. You know, if you're an adult, you know, you should be able to not gamble all your money away. But you know, some people do. So anyway, I'd probably be against it.
Good. We'll start with you, Mr. Cooper, on this end, and this may be one that people have been waiting for. What is your opinion on the entire Cozy Inn situation? 1 minute response. What is your opinion on the Cozy Inn situation, and what would you do to correct the situation?
I'm gonna keep it really short. I thought it was handled terrible, and I would let him paint his building.
Thank you.
As a representative for the defendant in this case, remember the city of Salina is the defendant in this case, not the litigant. I really can't say much more than what was already issued in our statement and given to the press probably 6, 7, 8 weeks ago. You know, it's in the hand of the court, and the decision will be made one way or the other sooner or later, probably sooner.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
On this one, I cannot imagine for the life of me how we ever got there to begin with. I think that people either were not asking hard questions, commissioners maybe, about, are there other ways out of this situation? Are there ways that we can negotiate with Cozy Inn? Are there, maybe our ordinance needs to be changed. Maybe it's a mural, not a sign. I don't know, but there had to be a way to solve this before it got to big dollars changing hands, and mostly our dollars going that direction. It was a horrible thing, and I can't imagine that it should have happened.
Mr. Keller.
Well, when this thing was first happening, first time I ever went to a commission meeting, and I spoke to the commission on it because I said, man, you got murals all over this town, and it's to bring people in here to spend money. What did the Cozy do? He put a mural on his building, somebody decided it was a sign ordinance, can't give a variance. I don't know why it got as bad as it's gotten, but it's a terrible black eye for the city. And win or lose, the city loses on this thing. So I love the burgers, I'll eat there. I like the shirts, all that stuff. But again, it's been here longer than anything else that I know of in this city, and we shouldn't be attacking our little establishments that are known around the world.
Mr. Clinton.
The Cozy Inn situation, I think, there was a lot of mishandling on both parts. I agree to that. I don't think it should have got to where it is. But I also sat in those sign code meetings 5-6 years ago where 0 people showed up to give an opinion on signs and sign codes and any of that kind of thing. I think that the community as a whole gets real angry about 1 or 2 topics a year. They don't read the backstory. They don't actually even go read the current sign codes. Like it or not, it is defined as a sign. And whether we change that, whether we give him a variance and say, hey, you know, we really like what you're doing, we want to support that, I think that both parties got egotistical about it, decided that a lawsuit, well, one party decided that a lawsuit was the answer, which immediately shuts the other party's options down to even file a variance or do anything at that point.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Lenkowitz.
Well, I'll start with, I think it's intellectually dishonest to have not been in that room during executive session and do the woulda, coulda, shoulda argument. The bottom line is, there's a decision we had to make. We knew it was not going to be popular. We really can't comment on the details or the intricacies of it. What I can say is that nobody knew, or everybody knew that this was going to be a horribly unpopular decision, and you have to make these decisions in a vacuum, so to speak. You can't weigh in like, what business is it? It has to be kind of a sterile lens, if you will. So whether it's the Cozy or some other business that people don't have feelings of nostalgia or, you know, preference to, and we can't look at it that way. We have to be unemotional about it. And I would also like to add that, again, we were not pursuing litigation. It was the other party that pursued litigation. We were in the process of trying to work things out.
Thank you.
And got broadsided by litigation.
Thank you, Mr. Lenkowitz. Mr. Longbaugh.
Well, I am limited as a commissioner what I can state, but I do have copies of the official public statement for anyone who's interested to learn the facts, and I can share some facts here that on November 13th, when the city had met with Mr. Howard to explain the situation and the city sign code. At the same meeting, the city offered to work with him. Unknown to the city, Mr. Howard had contacted the Kansas Justice Institute on November 11th to discuss legal representation and thus filed a lawsuit against the city. So the city was obligated to respond to that suit. And it's unfortunate, but it is in the federal court. It's not like we could go upstairs to the 3rd floor and work this out with the local judge. And it will be resolved soon.
Thank you. Mr. Rem.
You have a 103-year-old business that's been serving the same product in the same building for those 103 years. I think somebody with the city very easily, one of our leaders, could have got with Mr. Howard I don't know how Mr. Howard got backed into the corner where he filed the litigation, but it never should have gotten to this. It's crazy. It would have been so easy to carve out a variance for that business. And maybe it's after the fact, maybe he handled it wrong. I think both parties handled it wrong. It's kind of a national, well, it's certainly a Midwest embarrassment anyway. I talked to people just the other evening that were from out of town, and they have heard about it. But anyway, it should have been handled, and if I had a chance to make a decision on it, I'd get with the city manager and tell him to get with the city attorney and find a way to settle it yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Remp, and we'll start with you again, and this is on the same topic. This is a pretty big topic for our community. How do you respond? I'm trying to word this the correct way. What would your response be to the statement that the current commissioners are not fit for duty because of the direction that the Cozy Inn debacle has gone?
Well, I don't like the way that's worded. You know, they're good people, good residents that put their time and efforts forth to help run our community. Just somewhere, wherever it boiled down to, I think the community is supposed to guide the commissioners, and they're supposed to guide the city manager. And somehow I think it bubbled up the other way. And I think everybody in the room, I think the consensus is they wish it would go away and should find a way to handle it. The city manager should have been told, find a way to put this to rest. But water over the dam at this point in time.
Thank you. Mr. Longbein?
Once again, I have copies of the official public statement. If you'd like to inform yourself, please see me after the meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Linkowitz?
I think it's worth mentioning that during this process, the city did hire basically a subject matter expert and brought them in from out of town. And I don't know the exact number. I believe it's somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000 that we spent in good faith in trying to work this out. And in the midst of that, that's when we were sued. So I guess the question I think everybody needs to ask themselves is, do you want to make this a one-issue election? Do you want to just laser focus so hard on one issue and not look at the big picture, and that's how you're going to vote? Or do you want to look at the direction we're going and understand that we had direction from attorneys based on the information presented, and we made the best decision that we thought we could based on the information available? And that's part of a leadership position, is you have to make unpopular decisions. It's easy to just go wherever the wind blows, and then consequences be darned. You know, if it puts you in a situation where you're going to face litigation later.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clinton?
I think that I don't always subscribe to the notion that because one business has existed for 100 years, it is the community treasure and the business that everybody should seek to idolize or model. I have no hard feelings about Cozy's. I don't, not saying anything negative for them, but how do you put them above a Martinelli's or a Bravo's or a other community business that might do just as much good and be facing similar issues? I would say that I'm sure there's a lot of information that the current commissioners are privy to that most of the general public aren't. And when lawsuits happen, people can't share everything.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
Give me that question again.
Oh, man. I got in trouble for wording it wrong.
No, I mean it, because
How would you respond to the statement, the current commissioners are not fit to be in office due to their handling of the Cozy Inn? And I don't know, that's not the exact wording it was before.
Okay.
Trying to be nice.
Man, to say somebody's not fit for office, wow, over the Cozy Inn, I couldn't say that, okay? And the Cozy Inn is one of the reasons why I decided to run, but I believe that the current commissioners are doing what they think is right. I think that they're taking steps in the direction that they've taken in the past, and now that they're trying to do what they think is right. I just know a lot of people in town aren't happy about the Cozy Inn. It just blew up. It just blew up. But that one single thing to say these people aren't fit for their position, I would disagree with.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
I also disagree with that question. I don't think I think the commission is a fine commission. They do work as hard as they can. The one thing I don't know is that when I was on the commission and I brought forth an idea, the city manager and the city attorney said, no, we can't do it in Salina. No, it doesn't work for us. And I said, why not? And so I went out, got some research, called Lawrence City Commission, brought back model legislation for an ordinance, and handed it to our city manager. I said, I think we can. And it happened because of that. The city manager and the city attorney are not always the best answer. And I think that there has to be more communication, more back and forth between the commissioners and city manager and city attorney on issues like this so that they don't happen to begin with.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
To be sure, the city does not file suit or respond to a suit without the commission's permission. So discussion was had at that level before action was taken. But I would ask, how many people who were fighting so strongly for the COSI's position on this would have taken the same action had this been a very anti-American picture that was on the side of that building? It's not what was on the building, it's what our rules are. You don't pass a rule for a friend that you wouldn't give, that you wouldn't make for people that you don't like. You can't have it both sides. So we have to be blind to the fact that it's the cozy end. You make rules to offer protection so that folks who are applying for something are not unfairly biased by people's prejudices. Really has nothing to do with the cozy end as far as the next case that's going to come up when it's something that most of us out here don't like.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
The most glaring issue for me with the cozy inn is the fact that there are many other buildings in town that have entire walls painted with the name of their business across it, or some kind of advertising. Blacksmith Coffee has coffee on the side of their building. It's a small building, but it's there. And so I think there's a double standard there. I'm not going to say they're unfit to be a commissioner, but definitely a double standard.
All right, and let's continue with you, Mr. Cooper, and we'll head back the other direction. This question has to do with homelessness. Homelessness is a problem in Salina. Do you have any thoughts regarding possible solutions for the homeless situation in Salina?
I think it's a problem everywhere. I think the best thing we can do is support the rescue mission and Salina Grace, or other organizations like that. I'm not sure I would spend taxpayer money. I'm not sure what I would do with it, but the more we can help them and give them resources, the better off it'll be, and maybe we can bring in more places just like that that can help take care of the issue.
Thank you. Dr. Davis?
I think it's important that you listen to how many times you've heard folks say that they want to constrict government. Government shouldn't be in this, government should be in that. 30 seconds later, we should support this, we should give money for that. You can't have it both ways. There's some things that government has to get involved with for quality of life. The issue with homelessness is with the issue of homelessness. It's not the homeless people. And if you look at them individually, there's mental health, there's lack of education, there are a lot of factors. You can't fix every one of those lives. We can try, but it's hard for the government to do it. We could do it. It costs money. We have agencies here in town that are willing and already starting. So I think we do need to support them. In fact, we do. It's tough, but at least we recognize it's a problem and we are moving in a direction, however slowly.
Mr. Hardy?
Once again, we are at the crossroads of the country, and that's a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing. Because there are a lot of homeless people that are also hitchhikers that come across the country, and they hear that Salina is a good refuge, for lack of a better word, for homeless people. And we do a good job between the Rescue Mission, Salina Grace, and the other organizations in town. And I think that the city could perhaps help by job opportunities, perhaps maybe a reduced or free pass on City Go buses to get from home to job or rescue mission to job, that kind of thing. But I think that Salina in general is doing a good job in that area.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
Homelessness. Some of you, maybe all of you, have had to deal with something with them. I've had to deal with them downtown doing security for a concert at the open stage down there, and it's really troublesome to have to deal with someone that isn't in their right mind. I saw some stats that the city had on a slideshow that said that we had over 30% increase in out-of-county homelessness. So I reached out to the sheriff's office, and I've talked to police officers and stuff, and there's this little thing called the blue taxi. And I don't agree with the blue taxi. It's law enforcement bringing people from other counties to Salina because we have resources. I don't have any problem helping our folks. That's who we should be helping. But if we've got Manhattan and Junction City and other cities which have their own money, sending their folks to us, then maybe our administrators should be talking to their administrators about helping pay for it.
Thank you. Mr. Clinton?
Homelessness is an issue that no government is ever going to solve, first of all. However, Salina has a really good community partnership with Rescue Mission, Salina Grace, Shasby House, the Day Center, the Winter Shelter. I've worked as a security guard doing entry screening at the Salina Grace Winter Shelter for years. I've locked up the downtown bathroom for years. Fixing homelessness, a lot of people say, oh, just go get a job. You're homeless, just go get a job. It's not that easy because to have a job, you need to have a place to get a paycheck mailed. Has anybody tried to get a job without a home mailing address or a state ID? It's not as easy as it's made out to be. I would like to see Salina help support Rescue Mission in expanding the Winter Grace Shelter. I know that program saves lives and is very important. I don't know about a blue taxi. I know that this is a good place to be homeless in.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Lenkowitz?
Well, I'll start with Salina Grace and the Rescue Mission and Ashby House have done a really fantastic job, and over the years have evolved and really done a great job of just taking care of the people that have come in. Unfortunately, part of that is when you offer good customer service, sometimes people travel to get it. And that's just a fact. We're kind of a de facto service center for the homeless. And there's not a whole lot we can do about it. There's no way to police that. You can't have conversations with other administrators in other cities. You have to prove that these things are happening first and foremost, and it's kind of nebulous. But as far as it's a problem that you cannot solve with four walls, a job. Hey, just get a job. A lot of these folks are dealing with addiction, mental health issues, or both. They're kind of overlapping at times. And there's also a lot of folks, and I dealt with homeless in my law enforcement years. I dealt with them as a property manager here in town for the last 25 years. And a lot of them do not want to basically assimilate into our culture. It is.
Thank you. Mr. Longvine?
There's always been homelessness. It's not a new problem. I remember my grandma telling me about the poor farm east of town back in the Depression. Until we can deal with the root cause of what caused that person to become homeless, that person will never get their life in a straight path and in a home. A lot of homelessness comes down to the fact of housing. When we look at the cities of like Portland and Seattle, a house or one-room apartment is $2,000 a month. It's just impossible. But we are addressing housing, and I think as the apartments by Menards come online, we're going to see the rents shift in Salina and moderate to where we can get people housed. And I do fully support Salina Grace. The Rescue Mission does not accept any government funding.
Thank you.
But Salina Grace is making a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Longvine. Mr. Brenner?
Yes, we do have great organizations here in our community that certainly play a role in handling that. Our mayor talked about, it's kind of a fine line. You don't want to make, I guess you don't want to make it too easy, or you don't want to be too inviting, because I'm sure, especially when it comes to homelessness, if you build it, they will come. I'm always reminded of seeing signage in national parks where it talks about not feeding the animals because they become dependent. And I'm not calling the homeless people animals, but if you make it too good, you're only going to snowball the problem.
Thank you. And we'll start with you, Mr. Rem, since you have the microphone in your hand. This question simply says, will you use your office to promote our nation's Judeo-Christian heritage?
I'm just going to say I don't have a comment on that. I'm going to pass on it.
Thank you. Mr. Longbine?
As a born-again Christian, I absolutely stand on my faith and my belief in God. That's what our country is founded on. And I don't check my morals at the door or my rights. And I will always stand up for what is right and what is biblical. So, absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Linkowitz?
Well, I made a reference earlier, and I forgot which question it was, about just kind of looking at things from a sterile perspective of a sterile lens. And I should say, part of that's with partisan politics as well. You try and look at this role, it's a nonpartisan job. I was born and raised Catholic, and I try not to have those beliefs permeate into my decision making, because, well, most of the times I don't think it's relevant. But does it maybe work into my thought process at times, again, that general Judeo-Christian ethic of the Ten Commandments and so forth? I think that's just kind of a tenet of our society, and it does work its way in, but I do the best I can to kind of keep that perspective as, just not really a religious one or a partisan politic one, but I am human.
Thank you. Mr. Clinton?
If elected city commissioner, it is my job to represent the citizens, and that includes all citizens of all beliefs and all faiths. And that's where I would lie that at.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
Well, since the United States and all civil governments under it have been designed under a constitutional republic, the three documents that were used to form that were the Ten Commandments, the Magna Carta, and the rule of law. And all of those things have to work together, and if we work opposite of that or we work contrary to that, then we forget the individual right of the person, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we're exercising that right here, folks. We are exercising that basic concept of being able to come before and talk to our leaders or potential leaders and share our ideas. So I would never allow that to leave from my thought process. I would always support and defend the Constitution and all the laws of this land.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
I think that the City Commission works for the common good of the citizens of Salina, and it should always be that way. Everyone in this room, to me, has the same worth. If you come to me and ask me a question about a pothole on Republic Avenue, I'll listen to you. If you want to make a comment on something else, I'll listen to you. And I care about every human being in Salina, and that's the way I am. I want to help everyone.
Thank you. Dr. Davis?
I started to just say I wouldn't add anything beyond what Mr. Clinton said. I think he summed it up. We're here to represent anyone. I'm concerned about the person who wrote that question, that the extent of your exposure in life is to that one particular framework. Now, most of our idea of what we think is right, if we were all raised in that heritage, stems from what we were taught, what our parents were taught. But to exclude the rights of other American citizens just because they don't go to our church on Sunday is ludicrous. This country is built on the separation of church and state.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper?
I'm a born-again Christian. I have a biblical worldview. I would not force that on anyone else, though, or use the office to force it on anyone else.
Thank you. And Mr. Cooper, we'll start with you and head right back down the line. This question says, talk about what real life experience you have that will benefit our city if you become a commissioner.
I'm an independent carpenter. I work a lot in building, mostly remodeling, some new stuff. So I guess that would be something I could, help with. It seems like our licensing and all that stuff, departments in the city are pretty good. I think they do a pretty good job. Other than that, I don't really have a, I'm not on a board or anything, so, yeah, anyway.
Thank you. Dr. Davis?
My day job, as some of you may know, is as a neurologist. I get paid to listen to people, hear what they're saying, hear what they're not saying, look at their body language, see what they really meant by what they said, and make decisions. Our commission operates pretty much the same way. You have to listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them in that proportion. I've served in leadership positions in several organizations. I grew up in Washington, D.C., where everybody does not look the same. I'm very comfortable with difference in people. And some here aren't, but you have to be able to take anyone as an equal and see what they bring to the table. I public management curriculum at KU to learn the fine details of management and government.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
I think I'm the only candidate up here who has had both 4 years experience as a city commissioner and 4 years of experience as a state senator. And I think the marriage of those two has given me all kinds of wisdom that I did not have prior to that experience. And when I was sitting in my office in Topeka, I invited people to come in. There were some senators that wouldn't invite people in, but anyone that came in, if I just had a minute, I would welcome them in and hear what they had to say. And in Salina, I ran a Facebook page for the my city commission position the entire 4 years I was in office, because I want people to understand what's going on in city government, and it's very, very difficult, especially now, to know what's going on in the city commission, in the city, and all over the city of Salina.
Thank you. Mr. Keller?
I need that question one more time. I really need to hear that clearly.
Talk about what real life experience you have that will benefit our city if you become a commissioner.
Okay, again, that's pretty much what everybody's probably going to say. We try to listen. I try to listen. Try to listen to what people have to say. Try to balance things out. 25 years in the military, I've worked with some very difficult people. And as an operations sergeant in 2 different locations, I've had to take different services. I've had to work with different countries and work with them to complete a mission, to make that mission successful in different countries as far as their cultures and things like that. So I've got some experience with people from all over the planet, different colored people, if you want to say that, but also people with different religious backgrounds and all, and try to work with them, and did successfully work with them. Working in education, doing the same thing, going and getting grants, working with the different companies to help us grow our programs. I'm used to doing those kind of things. I'm used to putting things together and trying to work a team to a final solution.
Thank you. Mr. Clinton?
Okay, so as one of my many things that I do in life, I'm a security officer by trade, deal with a lot of difficult situations, but I also am a production company manager. 100% of that job, everybody would think it's the technical, the cameras, the lights, the soundboard, the consoles, the staging. 15% is actually technical knowledge. The other percentage of that is all about people management, managing expectations, meeting the client's needs for this level of an event with the budget they can afford. And so with all that experience, I think that brings great assets to being elected as a city commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Linkowitz?
my work experience from the time I was in high school until now. I've had jobs where I've dealt with a multitude of different people from different backgrounds, socioeconomic, race, creed, religion, etc. I've worked as a corrections officer, I've worked as a law enforcement officer, as a property manager, and I can tell you, Salina, we have a lot of different people from different backgrounds moving here, and I deal with them on a daily basis. And honestly, I like people, and I like dealing with people, and I like helping try and problem solve things that people bring to me. And you know, I think that's one of the things that that's why I'm here. You know, I had a career where I was helping people out. I spent a couple decades in the private sector as a property manager, and there was something missing, and it was public service. And I tried and scratch that itch with the Planning Commission, but after about 5 years, decided to run for City Commission, had the honor of doing that for 4 years, and would like to do it for another 4, ideally, and I like the direction we're going as a city as well.
Thank you. Mr. Longbine?
Curly, can you spot me a few seconds here? I would like to thank my opponent, Mr. Klinda, for the wonderful job on the sound and the video they're doing, so people like me can hear. Thank you, Jim.
Time's up.
My real life experience is I'm a very mechanical person. I understand how things work, and if I don't understand, I learn and I figure it out. The city is a complex operation. It's like 13 different companies under one roof, and some of those departments have sub-companies under them that it gets very complicated. And so I am always fascinated with learning the inner workings of such things as the water plant, and we've approved many upgrades to our downtown water plant recently, so I'm looking forward to seeing that and how it all works. But having an understanding of what employees deal with, whether it's out there mowing grass, maintaining the trucks, or police cars, all that adds up. And I have a good understanding of what it takes to keep all that running.
Thank you. Mr. Rim?
Yes, I've been in business for over 30 years. McDonald's franchise here in its heyday, I had well over 200 employees. At 50,000 Salinians coming through a week. Well, I guess I gotta count the highway, people traveling too. But I made it a point to work my business. I made it a point to listen to my customers when they had an issue. As a matter of fact, if somebody came to me and said, Doug, can I offer you some constructive criticism? My attitude would be, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. People, companies pay for feedback. You're gonna pay me for your feedback. Why would I not listen? I've had to make multi-million-dollar decisions, and I also know what it's like to struggle to make a payroll where, as a business owner, you're the last person to get paid, and I've gone many times without a paycheck.
Thank you, Mr. Rim. And fortunately or unfortunately, we've come to the end of our time here. So we're going to offer a 1-minute closing statement from all of our candidates. And we started on this end with the opening statement. So we will start with Mr. Rim on our closing statement, and we will move down the line here.
Well, earlier I talked about the organizational chart, where we have the community, then we have the commissioners, then we have the city manager. And it just hasn't seemed to have been working that way. I hear the community. Again, I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm putting mechanisms in motion right now that even give me, that provide more feedback. It seems like a lot of times with our current commission, their minds are already made up, and maybe they've had these sessions, you know, in private, but then I would say there's not enough transparency. We don't have a newspaper anymore, really, where we get information or we get detail on things. Anyway, I promise to listen, bring common sense and fiscal responsibility to the commission. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Rim. Mr. Longbine.
First, I want to thank the Brigade for hosting this and for everyone coming out tonight, taking time to listen, engage, and care about the future of Salina. I am committed to putting in the time to make thoughtful decisions and keep our city moving forward. A tremendous amount of investment and development has occurred in the past few years. Whenever we see new construction, that means progress. The housing shortage has been addressed with several projects beginning to fulfill our housing needs. I believe the foundation has been laid for substantial growth and prosperity in Salina. We must continue forward thinking for continued progress. I will be honored to continue serving with integrity and collaboration. My leadership and commitment to Salina has never been stronger. I ask for your support and vote on November 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Longbine. Mr. Linkowitz.
Well, in closing, the one thing I would like to mention is some of the positive things, because it seemed like we get mired in the negative in these conversations. And over the course of the last 4 years, there were several things that, as a commission, I think we should be proud of. First and foremost, it's the 3 legs out of the Salina Airport. You know, when I first started as a commissioner, it was a question mark. Are we even going to have air service out of Salina? Is SkyWest going to stay? And we had to make a decision to put that money in good faith towards that project, and the county commission did as well. And here we are a few years later, and we've got 3 legs, potentially going to have more as things progress. I think the economic development in terms of the housing, I think we're going to have more manufacturing coming here, and I think overall, big picture, we are headed a good direction. I think the river project is something we can be proud of. It's a legacy project. We can look back, you know, generations from now, and I think we'll be happy we made that decision. And I guess I would ask that you not make this a one-issue election, please.
Thank you, Mr. Linkowitz. Mr. Clendon.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, guys. Obviously, if you're here, you're probably registered to vote. If not, please go make sure you get registered to vote. Vote for me, vote for somebody else, but please at least vote. Please tell your friends to vote, get everybody to vote. One thing that we didn't really mention much tonight was the breed-specific, the pit bull ban. I am in favor of looking at that legislation and making it breed neutral. You can always message me and ask for more on that, but thank you. Just please go vote. I see a lot of Facebook arguments and comments, a lot of people that don't even know that they can watch the meetings online. Help your friends, help everybody learn. And as a commissioner, we will do more to be more transparent, but you guys also can sign up for agendas and do that stuff and help, so.
Thank you, Mr. Clendon. Mr. Keller.
Well, thanks again to the Candiate Brigade for putting this together. This is our government in action right here. I love it. Thank all of you for coming out and seeing our pretty faces and hearing our voices and answering your questions. I'm still looking for the pretty faces too, I know. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a promise I've made to a lot of the people I speak with, and I work with veterans every Tuesday night in this community, and we've helped a lot of veterans in this community, is that I'm hearing from them the same things. It's the taxes, it's expensive. I don't know what's going on. I hear it from young people. I can't afford to buy a home. Or I bought a home 10 years ago and I got to stay where I'm at because I can't buy a new one because I got kids and vehicles are too expensive. I just think that there are ways that we can work to streamline. Our federal government is reducing the size of its government, our government. This state is going to be doing that some more. Our county has done some things to pull the reins in. I think that for the future, for our kids and our grandkids, we're going to need to do that some more.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Mr. Hardy.
Thank you once again to the Candiate Brigade. I really appreciate it. You draw a great crowd. And it's been a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to a lively conversation between here and the election. Again, my name is Randall Hardy, and you can visit my website, randallhardy.org, if you would like to learn more about me and leave comments or suggestions or to sign up for a yard sign. Thank you for this opportunity to visit you tonight. It is an honor to run for this position. If I am elected, I will consider my position as a partnership with the citizens of Salina. I will be open to ideas or suggestions from citizens as we decide the best path forward for Salina while I am in office. Since filing for office, I have attended every commission meeting so I can hit the ground running if I am elected. And believe me, I will stand up for you so that we never have to spend our tax dollars on an unnecessary lawsuit again. I would appreciate your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Mr. Davis.
Thomas Jefferson said, of luck, the harder I work, the more that I have. In that regard, Salina has been very lucky because we've worked very hard to be prepared for the opportunities that have come our way. As a commissioner, I work hard to work with the other commissioners and to understand every citizen's opinion. There's no opinion too small or meaningless. If a citizen comes to me, I don't ask if they voted for me. They are a citizen of Salina, therefore I'm their commissioner. I use sensitive listening skills, decision-making skills, and feel like I can draw conclusions and help us reach a consensus. Serving as your city commissioners take advantage of these skills. I've appreciated your confidence in me over these past several years and would appreciate your vote on or before November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Finally, Mr. Cooper.
Thanks, Grannies, for putting this on and everyone for coming out. Lucky for all of you guys, we do have a handful of candidates. If you like the direction that the city's going, you have options. If you don't, you have options. Maybe pump the brakes on some unnecessary spending and over-regulation if you don't like the way it's going. And, go vote November 4th.
Thank you. Let's give a big hand to all of our candidates tonight. Thank you for coming. I obviously thank them for coming, taking time out of their week to come and kind of give their position. And I agree, this is what our American government is about, getting information and being able to vote. Count that a privilege and take advantage of that privilege and go vote on November 4th. You want a microphone? All right.
We want to thank all of you for coming out, and especially our candidates. It was an enlightening evening. And I would like to invite the candidates to get some information to us, whether it be yard signs or pamphlets or anything, because the Granite Brigade, starting on September the 25th, and every Thursday in October, will be setting out on 2 locations, one in front of the KINA radio station on Ohio, and the other one on South 9th in front of the Fountain Plaza from 4 to 6 with information concerning the election. And if any of the candidates would like to bring some stuff for us, like your yard signs, and that way whoever you're wanting to back, you can pick that up at our locations. And the last time, we also will have sample ballots there and also registration forms if you have not registered to vote yet. The last day you can register to vote is October the 14th, and early voting starts on October the 20th. Now, on our next 2 meetings for the month of October and November, we will have on October the 16th, we will have, or October the 20th, first. Let me look. October the 21st. We will have a representative from Attorney General's office, and he will be speaking on fraud and what's the word I want to say? Where you're scamming. And he will give suggestions on how you can protect yourself on it. And then in November, here at the nights, the one in October will be in the Carver Center. And November, we will have Speaker Dan Hawkins from Topeka and President of the Senator Ty Masterson, and it will be here at the Knights of Columbus Hall, and that will be November the 16th. Or 18th, I'm sorry. And that, I think, covers everything. If you did not donate when you came in, we'd appreciate a small donation to help pay for the room rent and also for our streaming gentleman, and it will be on the Granite Brigade or YouTube tonight at late tonight, Dean says, or for tomorrow, because we could not live stream it tonight because the Knights of Columbus Hall does not have Wi-Fi. So If you have any friends that did not get here tonight, have them watch it on YouTube tomorrow, or if they're going to Brigade member, they can see it on our page. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Oh, yes. If you're capable